The podcast for heroes in the world of Overwatch. This is The Payload.
Hey everyone, welcome to The Payload. This is episode 77 of The Payload. I am your temporary host, Jimmy Bloxham, also known as DJTyrant. Today is August 10th, 2017. We are an Overwatch podcast from BlizzPro.com. Thank you guys for joining me today, but also with me is Andreas from Omnic Lab. How are you, my friend? And thank you for your time coming to talk some Overwatch.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure being here.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, they dropped a bunch of news on us a couple hours before the podcast, so we have some cool stuff to talk about. Yeah. How has your week been in Overwatch? What have you been playing? Have you been hitting up the summer mode stuff?
Yeah, actually, that's been kind of like the main thing I've been playing. I've been having a chill week. I haven't been doing too much comp. Instead, I've been doing a lot of Lucio Ball. I think it's been pretty fun, especially now that they're offering the competitive points and it has a ladder. It gives it like a little extra competition there. So I've been enjoying that. I did my placements. I got to like Diamond. I've been trying to get it to Masters to see if I can get those 1,000 points and get those sweet gold guns.
Yeah, no, that's the way to do it. And as for myself, I've been kind of doing the same thing, casually playing, trying to max out the loot boxes from the arcade modes.
Yeah,
playing mostly Lucio Ball though, and I did play one. What they call Copa Lucio Ball or something like that, the competitive mode.
Yeah,
and it was definitely like way more intense than the regular mode, and it was really fun though because it was really back and forth, and I think we won like 2-1 or it was something really close like that. It was really cool, so I'm glad to see that they did expand upon that. But tell us a little bit about Omnic Lab for those who are listening who haven't heard of Omnic Lab, and what do you guys talk about with Overwatch over there?
Sure. For those of you who don't know me from my podcast, I do a podcast called Omnic Lab. We focus on the strategy of Hearthstone. We usually have guests or community people that are very knowledgeable about the heroes or maps or strategies, and we try to pick their brains and, just offer general strategy for everyone to learn and progress at the game. We're very focused on that. There's a little bit for everyone. For if you're just beginning or you're intermediate or even advanced, I think that some of our guests kind of like give you the whole spectrum. And we have episodes of all kinds. So I encourage everyone to check it out if you haven't yet.
Yeah, make sure to check that out. Where can they follow you? At Omnic Lab, I think. Is that right?
Yeah, we're on Twitter at Omnic Lab. You can also go to our website, omniclab.com. All of our episodes are there. You find us on iTunes. We're pretty much everywhere. Just put Omnic Lab on Google. You'll probably see us.
Yeah, definitely. Make sure to check that out and tell them Payload sent you. But let's get into the news of the week.
This week in Overwatch.
So, as we always do, though, every week we have to thank our MVPs, Shadoe, J, Correl, Liam O, Stuart J, Liang Z, Jacob S, and Adam W. Thank you guys all for your support. You can also check that out at patreon.com/Payload Podcast if you would like to get involved in supporting the show that way. We have all sorts of really great tiers that you can get involved with, special shows as well as game nights. Go ahead and check that out. But the one thing I noticed, and I noticed this like maybe an hour before the show, was that I was on Twitch and I noticed, they said you have Twitch Prime, you have a new thing or a new get freebie for your Twitch Prime subscription, and starting today you can get 5 loot boxes for having that Twitch Prime sub. But keep in mind it's normal loot boxes, so don't get too excited yet.
No golden.
No golden, and no summer loot boxes. It's just a standard loot box. But I opened it up. I got no duplicates, so I guess the no duplicate thing is working.
I've been really enjoying the no duplicate thing, actually. I've noticed since they introduced that, I have gotten almost no duplicates, all new stuff.
Yeah, most definitely. I don't think I've gotten any since the Summer Games patch came out, which was on the 8th, 2 days ago, if you're watching this live, which included that reduced duplicate drop chance. And like you said, neither of us have gotten any duplicates, which means it's working.
Yeah,
which is nice.
Welcome change.
Yeah, very welcome change. There's a lot of really awesome new cosmetics for Summer Games 2017. What's your favorite so far of the
there's
new
a couple
skins?
that are pretty cool. The dad Soldier 76 is pretty cool. I love those sandals with the socks that he's wearing.
Yeah,
they really wanted to emphasize that.
Yeah, no, they did a really good job with that. Obviously, the McCree is well done. I like the Mercy one as well. And one I didn't even know about till I saw it in game was the Biker Reaper, I think it is.
Oh, I think that is my favorite one. I don't know why I forgot that one, but that is badass.
Yeah, I was playing with some friends, and they used that skin, and then they got the play of the game, and it was the one where he like kicks out of the coffin, and I thought it just I started cracking up because it just looks so funny to see this Reaper all bikered up kicking out of this coffin for the play of the game. But yeah, that was cool. Lots of cool new stuff. I did like the change. I don't think we talked about this yet on the show, but Summer Games 2016 cosmetics, obviously they're available, I think, through the boxes, but they're also normally priced now. So if you missed that legendary Zarya outfit, it's 1,000 credits instead of 3,000. That's a pretty good compromise, I think, and welcome change for those wanting to fill out their collections.
Yeah, absolutely. I was gonna purchase the American McCree, but then I opened it up in one of the loot boxes. I was like, oh, well, okay, save the 1,000 credits.
Yeah, I don't even have 1,000 credits right now, but yeah, it's good to have that there. The big thing though is the return of Lucio Ball, which people enjoyed last year, but obviously the big thing is kind of casual and competitive Lucio Ball with leaderboards in top 500 sprays for top 500. For Copa Lucio Ball and a new locale in Sydney, Australia. You said you've been playing quite a bit of Lucio Ball. What do you think of the changes they made to it from last year?
The changes are very nice. I think they make more sense for the game type. I think that the one they had last year was more of a, let's see how this works out, and they just kind of put Lucio as he was on that game mode. But this time around, I think that they made sure to change him accordingly, so it makes sense. And his ultimate makes so much more sense in this game mode. Is very, very OP, and it feels good. And yeah, just being able to just punch the ball and that's it. I think that's what he needed.
Yeah. What do you think of the bounce pads? Are they a little too spread out? Do you think there should be more? I mean, there's a lot of kind of discussion on other ways they can improvement.
I think at first I felt that it was very slow. You do move very slow, and the map is kind of big to where it takes you a long time to get from one point to another. But as I was playing it more and more, I did start using the jump pads and the walls to kind of like take myself from one place to another very, very fast. And if you slide through a wall and from the wall you jump into a jump pad, I've noticed that you have enough momentum to get from one jump pad to the next. So you can kind of jump all over the map like that. So I think that it's well spaced out, and the jump pads where they at, they don't allow you to get to a ball super easy, but they do allow you to get to it if you time it right. Yeah,
most definitely. That was the thing I was going to bring up, was that the wall riding, once you kind of realize that gets you there way faster, it kind of changes the game a little bit.
Yeah.
So I've been really happy with Lucio Ball. It seems like most people have been, and having a competitive mode for an arcade mode is kind of funny to me, but it's very cool, and it definitely gives some more credence to the mode, I would say. And yeah, the competitive points on top of it for wins is just icing on the cake, I think.
Yeah, it also feels more summer games, right? Like I feel like the summer games are all in the spirit of competition, and at least this way it gives us like something to compete for during the summer festival. So I think that it fits and it's nice.
Mm-hmm. Most definitely. That's not the only news this week, though, as we kind of allude to at the top of the show. Just a couple hours ago, Blizzard dropped a brand new developer update from Jeff Kaplan to let us know that Deathmatch is coming to Overwatch through the arcade modes. I believe it's actually up on the PTR right now. I haven't had the chance to check it out, but it will be going through the arcade. Newly restructured maps from the maps we know and love from the regular mode of Overwatch. There's also a brand new map which they talked about has hints of Widowmaker's backstory and a brand new scoreboard. So there are going to be two modes. Traditional deathmatch, if you're not familiar with deathmatches from FPSs, it's every person for themselves. There's going to be 8 people in this mode. No restrictions on heroes. And Jeff, I thought it was funny because Jeff was like, oh, well, no one can complain about the hero you pick on your team because obviously you're playing for yourself.
Yeah, you're the only one.
Yeah, the goal is first to 20. The top half, which is going to be generally the top 4, get win credit towards their weekly loot boxes in the arcade, so you don't have to get number 1, which is kind of nice. And then Team Deathmatch is also going to be introduced. 6v6, first to 30 kills wins, and Mercy's Resurrection takes kills off the scoreboard. Holy smokes. What do you think of this? Just a year ago, they were just like, no, Deathmatch is never happening in Overwatch. Like, they literally said, it is never happening in Overwatch. They've walked that back, though. What do you think?
I was really sad when they first said that, because I remember when I first got into Overwatch on the closed beta, I was able to get in way back then. And the first thing when I got into the game that I asked was, wait, there's no deathmatch? The only thing that they had that was the closest to it was like the skirmish, but that wasn't really like a true deathmatch because it didn't last for that long. You couldn't keep score. And you couldn't jump into that mode like very easily, right? You had to do it at the beginning of the fight of the match. But finally, there's a deathmatch mode, and I'll tell you why I feel deathmatch is super welcomed. I think that competitive or quick play, both of those modes are not super conducive to practicing or warming up. Sometimes you just want to go in and be able to spam one hero, get to play it against a bunch of other heroes in a bunch of different situations, and just do that constantly, right? If you die, go out there again. But when you're playing the regular Overwatch mode and you're fighting for the objectives, you can't really do that. You have to play with your team. You have to play for the objective. If you go out on your own, you pretty much get destroyed really fast. So in these modes, it's really hard to just go out there, practice, warm up, or just like play the one hero that you want to play. And Deathmatch allows for this. So I'm super excited about the mode. I'm looking forward to it. I'm definitely going to be playing it in between my games. I don't think it's going to replace the main competitive modes, but definitely it's like a nice addition.
Yeah, and the patch notes did come out, so I'm going to send those to you because there's actually some hero changes we can talk about as well. Send those to you on Skype so you can check those out, just so you're not totally blindsided. But they did expand a bit on how scoring works in Deathmatch. You get a point whenever you land the final blow on an opponent, which is going to make for some really fun kill stealing, I imagine. You lose a point whenever you die to environmental damage or self-inflicted damage. That's pretty standard in deathmatch mode. They did list out the maps that they'll be using: Hanamura, Horizon, Lunar Colony, Temple of Anubis, Sky Industries, Dorado, Eichenwald, Hollywood, and Kings Row. Just reminder that they are modified versions of these maps designed for specifically deathmatch. And what's interesting is they said they found the team deathmatch modes worked better in the elimination mode map. So that's Black Forest, Castillo, Echo Point, Antarctica, and Necropolis. That will be for team deathmatch only. But yeah, the new deathmatch map, it's called Chateau Gouliard, and they said it's located near Annecy in southeastern France. For hundreds of years, it was the estate of the influential Gouliard family until it gradually fell into despair after the family's power waned in the decades after the revolution. Recently, the chateau has found a new owner, the talent agent Widowmaker, who has returned to her family's ancestral home. This should be cool for people who are really into lore, though, because we're finally getting some backstory on Widowmaker.
The map itself looks really cool too. It's like in the middle of an island. It's kind of like a castle-y looking thing. Very like sophisticated. It definitely looks like it has a bunch of inside pathways as well as an outside like playground. So all of the heroes seems like they have like their own little places to be playing over there. I'm really excited to try it too, especially since they mentioned that they're introducing a new respawn system. I think I read in the patch notes. So that's interesting, right? Because not everyone's going to spawn in the same places as they usually do. But I'm guessing random places in the map so that you're not kind of like surrounded by enemies right away.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that is what they said. We've made several modifications to many of these maps, including restricting play to a specific area and developing a special respawn system when playing in these modes. So that should be really cool to see.
Yeah, I'm excited to try all that stuff out.
Yeah, I think we all are. If you're so inclined, check out the PTR. I think it's live right now as of this recording. If not, should be very, very shortly. Blizzard tends to put these things up on PTR pretty fast after they do announce them. This patch also includes some hero updates, and the changes are coming to Junkrat that they kind of hinted at. Concussion Mine's going to have 2 charges now. And Riptire's movement speed is increasing by 30%, and there's no longer a time limit when wall climbing. How much does this help Junkrat, do you think?
I think this is a fantastic change. We've had a really good Junkrat player on our show before, and we've talked about this with him, where he's developed this playstyle where sometimes he gets very aggressive. And one of the ways he'll play Junkrat is he'll lay his concussion mine right below him, and he'll wait for the cooldown to come back up. And once the cooldown's almost up, he jumps into the middle of the fray. He causes a bunch of damage, and people freak out. And then once they are focused on him and try to kill him, he just concussion mines away from it, causing a ton of extra damage, probably getting some kills, and landing himself to safety. And I think this is a really cool playstyle because it gives him a lot of mobility. It kind of fits his character of being kind of like not very careful where he goes, just like mayhem and explosions all over the place. It allows him to get into his appropriate range. Junkrat is a hero that doesn't have a very big range because of the way that his damage works, right? Like the grenades are easily dodgeable, and if you're too far away, the enemies can just literally move away and your damage is pretty much denied. But with this change, you can get into your effective range, deal a ton of damage, and then still have a way to get out, so you're not completely screwed once you're in the middle of the battle. And same with the Riptire. It's an ultimate that is really hard to land past a certain SR. Like, people get really good at just scouting for it. As soon as they see it, everybody shoots at it, and it's just really hard to get a kill unless you catch them off guard. And I think with this being able to climb pretty much anywhere and having the extra speed, is going to make it a lot harder for people to just outright deny it.
Yeah, you're going to be able to have a much easier time ambushing people with the Riptire, it seems like. And yeah, like you were saying, it's more chaotic now that Junkrat has these 2 mines. He can really, like you said, jump in and out of locations now instead of kind of being at the mercy of his team following him to go in. And it almost seems almost like a Tracer kind of playstyle where she can come in, poke real quick, and then back out. Junkrat might have that going forward with really talented Junkrat players because they know how to really use that concussion mine to its maximum capabilities, and having 2 of them now, we're going to see some really, really cool plays with this.
Yeah, I think they're definitely trying to make him more mobile and less choke oriented. Like right now, Junkrat has to play very close to the chokes because that's where he is the most effective. With this, we might be able to see him more into open spaces and then coming back as needed. I'm excited for it. It might make Junkrat a lot more viable with these changes because I think he's one of those heroes that is at the verge of being like really viable in a lot of comps.
Yeah, and it seems like that's what they're touching on with all these changes is these heroes that haven't been particularly viable and competitive, just in general. The next one that they did touch is Oriza. They are changing the fusion driver to have a higher projectile speed by 20%, and the protective barrier is going to be increased by 20%, and they're changing the shape of it to allow for more coverage from enemies that are below the barrier. So these are nice quality of life changes, it feels like, but I don't know if this is what Oriza needs to kind of push her above the other tanks that are just meta picks right now.
Yeah, Orisa's in an interesting spot. I don't think she's a bad tank, and I think that people use her pretty decently, especially with the right comp. I know that her friend Switch from Omnic Meta, he does a bunch of statistics, and over time he's noticed that Orisa is definitely a tank that can block the most amount of damage, even over Reinhardt, which is kind of amazing. And she's like over Reinhardt by quite a big difference. So she's doing what she's supposed to do. I think that the increase in the speed that they're giving her in her projectile speed might make her a little more threatening, because right now her damage is a little bit easy to dodge, especially if you're at a distance. The barrier seemed fine to me. I guess they found a better shape for it, which is cool for Orisa players. But yeah, I don't think that these changes like make him a ton better, but she's gonna be just like the solid tank that she is right now.
Yeah, and I haven't seen the new barrier yet, but in the developer comments it says that the new shape makes the shield more effective when it's used on slopes or on top of objects, such as a payload. So it'll be interesting to see where she fits post-patch here, because, yeah, like you said, she's definitely kind of in that kind of awkward spot where she is good in certain situations, but she just isn't like the top dog. But yeah, that protective barrier, when they changed the cooldown on it, I think it was, I mean, basically that thing can be up almost infinitely.
Yeah, almost all the time.
Yeah. But the other tank that got quite a beating is Roadhog, who we've seen really unfortunately drop off with his changes. His healing, though, the take a breather skill, can now be used while moving, and damage taken while healing has been reduced by 50%. So they're thinking this will make or allow Roadhog to be more aggressive when looking for hook targets or blocking. And I'm really interested to see how these changes play out, because I don't know if this is enough, but it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting adaptation for Roadhogs, because I think that Blizzard definitely doesn't want to go back to that one-shot kill, very reliant on the hook playstyle. I think that they want to make the hook a main part of his kit, but not like the end-all be-all that it was before. And I think that a lot of Roadhog players are having a hard time coming to terms with that, because they were so used to playing their hero the old way. And the hero the old way was very good. So it makes sense why now a lot of them are very upset. But I think that we also haven't given the hero enough time, and people haven't really developed like the new style enough. Granted that I think Roadhog was struggling a little bit. It's not that is not true. Even Jeff Kaplan admitted it, and they were making some changes like this one. I'm curious to see how this will affect him for sure. I do think that the heal, reducing 50% of the damage that you take, can be used very strategically, almost kind of like the Orisa metal body. I can't remember what it's called.
Yeah. No, I can't remember either, but I remember. I know what you're talking about.
But like that one, you have to activate it at the right times. And if you activate it at the right time, you can mitigate a ton of damage. And I think it's going to be the case with Roadhog. Like when he's trying to run away, a lot of the times he gets chased down by Tracer, for example. Like once Tracer knows that the hook is down and he's trying to run away, Tracer will stick to him. And as soon as he pops a heal, she'll just unload an entire clip on his head, fill up her ultimate, even like stick a pulse bomb on him. He becomes so vulnerable, right? But now, instead of that happening, Roadhog can just run away, and when Tracer comes to unload that clip on him, he can just heal up, reduce a ton of damage, probably heal to full, and he has enough potential to wait for his hook to come back again, or just straight fire at Tracer and make him just have to run away. So I don't know. I see some potential in this change. Definitely more mobility for him. Definitely being able to be out in the open a little more and use it kind of as a semi shield kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, yeah, taking it kind of as an absorption, like you were saying, to reduce the damage by 50%. I do have to say I'm really happy that they're doing minor changes with Roadhog, just because the place that he was in before those big changes was a little bit overpowered, I feel like, but I really enjoyed playing him, but I can't understand why they had to make the changes that they did. But yeah, minor changes just to see if this helps his viability a little bit more before implementing some more stronger changes going forward. And yeah, I really do think though, moving while being able to use the healing is going to be super helpful for him going forward, and we'll have to see how that plays out. Speaking of minor changes though, Widowmaker is getting some changes, and again, one of those heroes that if you push a little too far to the right on the scale, just gets really powerful. So these are super minor changes, but I think impactful for those that do play Widowmaker. Grappling hook cooldown is being reduced from 12 seconds to 8 seconds. So over the course of the game, that's a lot more grappling hooks that you're able to use and have that mobility to get around, get out of danger, get into position, etc. And the Venom Mine, I actually really like this change. This is going to be interesting to see how it helps on more coordinated teams. Targets affected by the Venom Mine are now visible through walls to that Widowmaker only. So Widowmaker is going to be able to see exactly where people are. She doesn't have to remember exactly where she put that Venom Mine. She's going to be able to see where they are. So it's going to be interesting. I think these changes are good. They're not too much in the buff direction, so should be good for Widowmaker players, I think.
Yeah, I agree with what the developer comment was saying about Widowmaker being a very strong hero in the right hands, but her kit always felt kind of underwhelming. Mm-hmm. And it's very true. Like, compared to some of the other heroes, her abilities are kind of lame. I mean, the hook shot is pretty cool, but it doesn't do much aside from giving you some mobility. And the mine is super underwhelming. Like, it literally yeah. feels like this little fart that explodes on people and just like tickles them a little bit. Like, they just cough because it smells so bad, but that's about it.
Yeah, it feels like it doesn't really do much. So I'm excited to see it doing a little bit more, bringing some more value to that skill.
I think this change will make the mine like an integral part of her gameplay. Like, you're definitely gonna have to get good at placing the mines at the right locations, or sometimes even if in the middle of the fight, just firing it at the right place so that you can see just around the corner, stuff like that. I think that's gonna be very valuable. In a sense, it's kind of like a scatter arrow, right?
Yeah,
you just have to really make sure that you place it in the right place.
Yeah, now that I'm reading it again.
Or not scatter arrow, sonic arrow, sorry.
Yeah, yeah, but now that I'm reading it again, the Venom Mine, you used to not be able to tell if more than one hero was there. It was just like, oh, someone triggered it. Maybe he has two other people behind them. But this now, yeah, you're going to see, because it says affected targets with an S. So like you were saying, yeah, like the sonic arrow, you potentially could see how many heroes they have in this location, and obviously they being visible, you know which heroes are there. So if you know their Tracer isn't with the rest of the team and is probably flanking your team, you kind of can communicate that to the rest of your squad, and that's really cool. It's going to give really good info to Widowmaker players and to those teams that really do a good job communicating together. It's going to benefit them.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, we're going to move on now to our esports section. Lots of esports news lately. We've had the big news that dropped late last night. I think I got an email from Blizzard PR at like 10:30, 11 o'clock that Cloud9 bought the London spot for Overwatch League, and Los Angeles is getting another Overwatch team. So in addition to Immortals, this will be a team owned by the Cronkite family, who are, I believe, owners or co-owners in the LA Rams and Denver Nuggets. So another big sports property getting involved in Overwatch League. And that means some of these cities are going to have two teams, which will be interesting. We don't see that a whole lot in traditional sports, but if the city can support it, I think it'd be good. What do you think about these moves for Overwatch League?
I think it's great. Yeah, at the beginning, they only announced 7 teams, which I think some people were a little concerned, like, wow, it's only 7 teams. I think there was not even any representation for Europe, right? This is the first team
that's correct.
that is coming from that region for the London.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they had to come out and say, oh, there are European teams coming, don't worry.
Yeah. So it's cool that very soon after the first announcement, they're always showing that more teams are coming in. And I know that you also want to mention that there's rumors of Envious coming for Texas and stuff. So it seems like it's moving along. And as long as the snowball keeps rolling, the league is going to do quite well.
Yeah, and I don't know if this is the side effect of being a kind of PR move or just an effect of kind of the complexity of these contracts that they're having to negotiate with the teams. But they're kind of slowly rolling out stuff every week, every 2 weeks, and keeping Overwatch League in the news, which I think is really good for them. And that even if it's not
quite
planned,
important.
It's pretty good.
I think it's quite important that they're revealing all these news, because a lot of people were getting concerned, right? Like, for a game that is planned to be as big as Overwatch is planned to be, for so many people that have all these stakes, right? Competitive stakes, economic, financial, whatever it is that you have into this league, people need to know. And I think that even the people who have been talking for a while, it's hard to them to visualize things before they start happening. Mm-hmm. And now that they're starting to happen, I think it's easier for some people to kind of like jump in the bandwagon kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, I was all in on Overwatch League when they announced it at BlizzCon last year, but I definitely started getting worried in the past month or two, because there was no really concrete announcements. There was just rumors of stuff, and $20 million to enter the league. No one wants to be in it. And when we got the first 7 teams, I was like, okay, I think we'll be fine. And now that we're getting this kind of slow leak of additional teams going forward, it gives me a little bit more confidence in Overwatch League. And I mentioned this the last time we talked about Overwatch League, but it's just funny how we treat Blizzard on 2 extremes for their esports. When like StarCraft and Hearthstone and Heroes came out, we're like, oh, you're not doing enough for esports, you're not supporting the scene enough. And now Overwatch League, everyone's like, oh wow, Blizzard's doing way too much, they're asking too much. So it's really interesting to see the kind of different dynamics. That I know you've followed Hearthstone a lot, and the early days everyone was like, Blizzard, why are you not supporting Hearthstone?
I think that for as much crap we give Blizzard sometimes, I think that they do know what they're doing, and they have a lot of talented people who are putting their all into this. And not only that, but I think the community is really passionate, and to me, I have a lot of faith in this league, because I just see a lot of people who want to see this succeed, not only because of Overwatch or because of Blizzard or because of teams or anything like that, but I think that a lot of people want to see this succeed, because if it does succeed, it basically opened the gates for a whole new world in the esports realm. It basically will create an industry like sports is right now, right? Where players can aspire to become professionals, and it's not a what if. It's not, I don't know how much money am I going to make. Is this going to be worth it 10 years down the line? Am I wasting my time over here? If I do this, will I forgo the other dreams that I have in my life kind of thing? I think that if this succeeds, it basically sets a precedent for the future for video games to become a career, for example, like football or basketball or soccer is right now. And you could go through college, get a scholarship, and then go play video games for a professional team. That is what they're trying to create. And I think that it's really hard to do. It takes a lot of effort. It's going to take a lot of years to grow. But if anyone's going to make it, I think that Blizzard is in the right spot.
Yeah, I absolutely agree there. I mean, there's a lot of people that I've known that they've brought on specifically their job is Overwatch League, and that's it. And they're just working tirelessly to get this all done. There's so many writers on the team that I know of already, and I think even Kevin, a former co-host of the show, he's working at Blizzard now. I'm pretty sure he's working on some Overwatch League stuff because he's been really quiet, and that means he's working on something special probably. But yeah, that's really cool. And I just gotta reinforce the point you made that if Overwatch League is successful, yes, that means Blizzard and Activision get to reap a lot of those rewards, but it also opens the door to other esports to be bigger and go bolder than they have been able to in this environment. And I know someone was talking to me on Twitter, I forget who it was, but they were worried that there was a bubble coming potentially. And I was like, I thought back to, I think it was 2008 when World Series of Video Games crashed and what was it? CGS crashed and all that stuff. This feels completely different because there's a lot more people involved and a lot more brands, I think, involved as well. That I think it's going to be harder for it to fail, and I think there's a greater chance of it succeeding going forward. So it'll be very interesting, very exciting times for Overwatch.
For sure, and I think some people sometimes worry that but the league is gonna be so exclusive. Only a couple of people are gonna be able to be in it. So, and right now that's the worry, right? That they're kind of making it very exclusive. You have to put in a huge money up front, a huge amount of money up front to be able to be part of the league. And not a lot of people can make that. And then the spots that are available in the league are very limited as well. So I think a lot of players are very worried about this, but the truth is that if there is a league that is this big and is putting that much money into this game, into this industry, inadvertently over time, there's a lot of other competitions that will spark around this huge event. To give you an example, and obviously Overwatch League is nowhere near close to magnitude as, for example, the Soccer World Cup is the largest esport or sporting event in the entire world, right? Every nation participates, and it's huge, right? You bring the best players from the globe to compete in the single tournament, and it's huge. But the truth is that that's not the only league that exists in the world, right? Because of this league, there's leagues in every continent, and in every continent there's leagues in every country, which feed into this huge league, and it basically is just this trickle down effect. So I don't know, it's if it works out and if it grows, eventually it's gonna be everywhere.
Yeah, I mean they've already started that with Overwatch Contenders already. It's already a developmental league that's meant to feed into Overwatch League, so be good for players kind of starting out to go through that ladder. Basically, it's a ladder. You get really good at the competitive mode, hit top 500, and work your way up from there. But I'm excited to see how this all plays out, and we haven't even really heard too much about. There was the sheets that they sent these teams of I think all the top 500 players on ladder, players who've competed well in tournaments and stuff like that. So there's kind of this, what's it called? A draft list kind of what the best players in Overwatch are right now. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. I'd love to see a draft show. That would be really cool if they did that. But it's a little further down the road. Speaking about the world, you're talking about soccer and how the world's all involved in that. Overwatch taking a little bit from that with the World Cup. Katowice was this past weekend, and I don't think anyone was too surprised by the results as South Korea dominated the tournament. Canada taking the second spot. I didn't get to watch too much of it, but from what I read and saw, South Korea was just having fun. Holy smokes.
They were. Even I remember I got to catch South Korea versus Russia, which everyone was kind of excited about because it's basically a rematch from the last World Cup. And holy smokes, South Korea did not even flinch. They did not even give up one map. It was a struggle for Russia to even take a point from South Korea. They're just so organized, and all of their players are so incredibly good. It just seems like sometimes they're impenetrable. Even when Russia was able to get a couple of picks, the rest of their team would just fall through, decimate them, and then they would just reconvene, and like it was just they were unstoppable.
Yeah, they really were, and I mean it almost feels a little bit like a repeat of last year.
Pretty much.
I mean, because that was the same thing. I remember saying in the arena stage with KickedTripod and Katie, and we were watching U.S. versus Korea. We're like, oh yeah, U.S. home turf, we got this, and they just got annihilated. Like it wasn't even close. But yeah, that brings the total of 6 teams and countries going to BlizzCon. The list, if you haven't been able to catch it or forgotten who has made it this far for BlizzCon, it's China, France, Sweden, Australia, South Korea, and Canada who qualified this past weekend. But to round out the qualification, or go ahead. To round out the qualifications though, we have the LA event this weekend for the final 2 spots at BlizzCon. It is Belgium, Brazil, Germany, Israel, New Zealand, Taiwan, the United Kingdom, and USA. Who has the best shot of making it out of this group?
That is a interesting question. I would say USA has a very good chance. I like the USA team. I might go for them.
USA is the highest ranked team in this group, according to Wikipedia. So I think it's a safe bet.
It's a safe bet. Yeah, it's the low hanging fruit there.
It really is. Taiwan, I think, if I remember correctly, they made a pretty good run last year, so they might be the surprise here. I'd be interested to see someone like Israel, who's just not traditionally known for their esports teams, to kind of make a run here. I'd love to see the underdogs kind of make some noise at this event. But if I had to absolutely pick, I feel like U.S. and Germany will get out of this group and make it to BlizzCon. Germany has Internet Hulk on there, Skipjack, a lot of really good players. A couple from Team Expert. So
Germany has a solid roster. I would also watch out for Brazil, because even though they're not as known in the scene, I would say out of all of these countries, Brazil has one of the biggest gaming scenes, as well as kind of like the US or Germany. They take their gaming seriously down there.
Yeah, speaking of that, what's interesting is Brazil, Israel, and Taiwan, their team is made up of a full roster. So it's not like the U.S., which is a mix of people from Luminosity, FaZe, Cloud9, etc. So that could lend themselves to performing just better at this event. So it should be a really exciting weekend. I imagine it'll be a little closer than Katowice. So it'll be fun to watch this weekend, though.
South Korea is just in a different level. Those guys.
Yeah, they really are. I remember reading something that they had used all the different heroes except like one or something like that, because that's how versatile
I believe
they
so.
were.
I can't remember the name of the player, but it was one of the players who would swap into the craziest picks all the time, and the casters it was like an ongoing joke for them, because they were like, okay, let's see what he's gonna pick now. We don't know. Yeah,
most definitely. But oh man, that should be a lot of fun. Hopefully at BlizzCon we're not seeing Korea dominate too much, but I think that the early favorites a couple months before the event. But yeah, I think that is actually going to bring us to the end of our show. First of all, thanks to our patrons, as always, our Grandmaster supporters, the MVPs of the show, Shadoe, J, Correl, Liam O, Stuart J, Liang Z, Jacob S, and Adam W. If you like the show and want to show your support, head on over to patreon.com/Payload Podcast. Find out what it's all about. As always, store.blitzpro.com has the Payload merch on there if you'd like to get some of those. No iTunes reviews this week. If you like the show, giving us a 5-star review really helps us out and helps expand the show to more listeners and viewers like yourself. Before we go, though, shout-outs. Andres, where can people follow you? What are you up to this week in gaming and stuff?
Absolutely. If you want to follow me and my personal projects, you can look me up on Twitter at iPlayGames. You spell that IPLAI Games. I usually update on what I'm up to, what I'm doing over there. You can also follow my music blog. I make a little music. I've done the music for my podcast and a couple other podcasts out there. You can find it at iPlayMusic over on SoundCloud. And then you can also find my own podcast, Omnic Lab, like we said at the top of the show, over at omniclab.com or on YouTube, iTunes, all of those places.
Nice. Yeah, we'll make sure to check that out. And thank you once again for being on the show. You can follow me at DJTyrant. I'm posting all my stuff there as it happens. And yeah, thank you for tuning in for episode 77 of The Payload. You can find more great Overwatch stuff through the week at overwatch.blitzpro.com. Show records live every Thursday at 7 p.m. Pacific, twitch.tv/blitzpro. We are on Twitter at Payload Podcast. And The Payload is primarily supported by you, our fans. Join the Payload family and find out how you can support at patreon.com/Payload Podcast. And we love your email. Send your questions and comments to thepayload@blitzpro.com. Those 5-star iTunes reviews are helpful as well. And, of course, special thanks to Jake Butno for music and Andreas for guest hosting this week because of John taking a break from podcasting. I think is to content producers ourselves, we can understand sometimes you need to take a step back from
sometimes you have to take a break. We do have lives outside of the podcast. We do. Believe it or not.
But yeah, best of luck to John as he recovers. Thanks to Jake Butno for music. This has been episode 77 of The Payload. We will see you next week.
This week